Welcome to the latest episode of What Did I Miss? And today we're joined by my friend and the name of my fantasy football team, the great Matthew Berry joins us. We don't have any sound effects. How are you, sir?
I'd be upset if you had sound effects, Beadle. Like, you know what? Like, you know, I've known you for a long time. We've been friends for a long time. And I feel like low rent is on brand for you. And
what are you talking about?
In both your professional and personal life. I just feel like anything, you know.
Yeah. Too fancy?
You know, right up
I ain't
too
having
fancy.
it.
That's not you. That's not Beadle.
I like sounds you make with your mouth, and that's it. That's it.
Again,
I'm so glad.
Also in professional and personal life. Yes, correct.
Right? Are you saying that Sports Nation wasn't high-end and highbrow? I feel like that's very rude.
Yeah.
It's very classy.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it was the guy on the wall or the fact that you guys just like would print out pictures of Belichick and stick it to the wall with tape.
Oh my God!
On the Liometer or whatever, the BS-ometer or whatever.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
I mean, look, my audition was literally a whiteboard with Post-its, and I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this show's gonna be great. It's gonna totally work. We got this. You're the only. I'm trying to think. You're the only loud and proud Washington, well, I'm going to say Washington football team for the last time, I guess, fan that I know, like publicly know that's out there running around. But now it's official.
Right.
The Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Look, I've thought a lot about this. It's not what I would have chosen. It's not what I would have chosen. I wanted Red Hogs because I think the Hogs sort of harken back
awesome.
to, it's a different name. It's a little weird. And I feel like it has the red in there. So you still get, Hail to the Red Hogs or whatever. And then in addition, again, the Hogs, it's part of Washington football's culture and our history. And so to me, that was what I was voting for. I'd have been fine with Red Wolves. I'd have been fine with Red Tails. You wanted red. You would have needed red. I liked red in there, and I also thought I'd been fine with Washington football team. Like I talked about this. Like I kind of like it's grown on me. Like I sort of like the classic old school nature of it with just the numbers on the helmets, and whether Washington football team or Washington FC, Washington Football Club, which I thought might have been cool.
Would that have confused people though? Like would have the soccer group would have been like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everything confuses people.
That's a great point. We can't worry about that.
You can't. Listen, if you want to try to like explain stuff to people on the internet, you'll spend all day and get nowhere. But what I would say, Beadle, is that I like Commanders better than some of the other options out there. I like it better than like the Presidents or the Armada.
Armada was a much. That was much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, you and I have discussed this many times. Like the Bodie McVote faces would have been good.
Of all time.
The
greatest name of all time.
All time. Beadle and I did a podcast, and like literally we did 45 minutes on Bodie McVote face once.
As it deserved and still does.
As it deserved.
As far as I'm concerned. Like, okay, so some of that, it was fan submissions, which... ballsy move to ever allow fans to do anything, because I'm sure some of the lists that we didn't get to see was mwah. But it was Admirals. You did have some DC Power, like it's kind of weird, like Marvel DC.
Yeah, I don't like any of those, and so Commanders is fine. And I think I mean, so we should break down the name Commanders in a second. Yeah. But just in terms of my reaction, which is what I think you're asking, Beadle, is I think it's fine and it's good. Like, and I'm going to be supportive of the Commanders because it's my team. And I also think, and you probably went through this when you were trying to name this podcast, right? Names are weird. Names are weird, right? I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like, think back in the day, like the very first day. Let me get this date, Steve Jobs. You want to name this company after a fruit? Or sell computers.
It's like, no, but Apple's it. Well, then Gwyneth Paltrow named a human child Apple. Like, yeah, you're right. Names are weird. What does it all mean?
Think about the very first day. They said, I got it. We're going to call it eBay.
eBay.
What's eBay? Wait, like, so it's an electronic bay? What's like, what's eBay? Like, what's eBay? Like, I mean, like, what's a Xerox?
It's true. It is true. Like, names are dumb until they're not.
Right. And I think, everyone was dunking on Washington when they couldn't come up with, quote, a name, and they changed to Washington football team. Everyone was dunking on them for that. And then over 2 years, everyone was like, oh, I kind of like Washington football
right?
team. And they got used to it, and they called it the WFT and the whole thing. So
WFTs would have been good.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like on brand, though, that they had the name, got rid of it, took like a temporary sort of interim name, took 18 months or however to quote unquote research. In the meantime, people were like, you know what? Don't hate WFT. It's kind of grown on me, but they're like, no. Then they tease an announcement. Like I was joking about this before. It's not the announcement of who's playing the next Bond. Like no offense. But like that to me is like, well, I'm setting my alarm and I'm getting up and I'm watching it. It was like, no, February 2nd. Stop whatever you're doing and get online because we're about to. It's like, why did they make such a big deal? You only set yourself up for failure when you just make a spectacle of it. Well,
and also because there's so many, they had to get all the legal rights and everything like that. And all that. I mean, that's a question. That's one that I would love to know that we'll never know the answer to. Is did they choose the Commanders because they thought it was the one that was most popular, the one that was least offensive, the one they felt they could, or was it just the one that they could get? Because there's like, there's all right. Because there's all these squatters on all these different, domain names and everything like that and copyrights. And so were they just like, we've decided on the Red Wolves and there's some internet troll, and there's been articles written about these guys that have like squatted on names for years and years and years and have copyrights on all these things. And I don't want to pay some guy in Alexandria $1 million for the name Red Wolves. So what's available?
I mean, we say trolls, but also semi-geniuses. Like they all went buy everything that you can and wait.
Trolls in the patent troll category, not
in the pure sense.
Not in the, I'm on a keyboard and I'm,
you look fat.
You look right, exactly. Take off your top, whatever.
Oh, which those are the best.
I get that a lot. I'm sure. I don't know if you ever do, but I get
2022, baby. 2022. Exactly. We're all, and by the way, that was me, so you're welcome. I just wanted you to feel wanted.
Thank you very much. Next time, use your burner if you could. Add a little bit.
You didn't get.
Just don't make it you.
It's like Joe. How about this? The fact that Joe Theismann. Why does Joe Theismann seem to just sort of bumble and fumble? Like why? Why is it? If there's some sort of like, oops, leaked it early, and then you're like, who did it? Oh, it's Joe Theismann. I'm not even surprised. What is the deal?
Athletes should not be on social media
ever.
Just in general. You
know what? I'll say athletes of a certain generation, perhaps, because the young kids, they know what they're doing.
For the most part, for the most part, they do. But I just when you think about the number of people that have sort of ruined their brand or their reputation or their career because of self-inflicted by social media. I mean, honestly, maybe I'm out of it, but 2 weeks ago, what did you think of Jeff Garcia? You're like, okay, whatever.
I didn't think about him at all.
But if anyone had brought him up to you, you'd have been like, oh yeah, Jeff Garcia, whatever, he's fine.
What's he doing?
Yeah, whatever. What's he up to? Yeah. I had him on a fantasy team a couple of years ago. Whatever, he was fine. Right? And now you're like, well, screw that guy.
Yeah, bro. Right. You picked the wrong, by the way, pick the wrong one. You picked the wrong one.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, aside from the fact we both love Mina and Mina's awesome, but forgetting just attacking a participant, like Jimmy Garoppolo's the hill you want to die on,
that's what I'm saying.
Who you attacked, right? Yeah,
And by the way, and I think he also, not to go off on it, but I think he picked someone that he thought that he would have public support going after, right? And I'm sure there's always going to be a set of mouth breathers that will follow that fight.
Sure.
But all you can think about, it's cowardly, because I can think of, off the top of my head, 3 loud, screaming, highly paid male talking heads who have never played a sport, who are out there yelling and calling people and personally attacking people sometimes. I didn't hear him go after them. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear any of that. So I'm like, you're kind of chicken, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
he just didn't know. He didn't know Mina was actually respected highly.
Right. By the way, you know who else has never thrown a pass in the NFL? Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, who, by the way, had Jimmy Garoppolo and got rid of him. So just so you know.
Yeah. And the thing is, she wasn't personally attacked. Nothing about it was not professional. Like, it was all it's very Mina. Yeah. Like, Mina's a genius. She knows what she's talking about. Yeah, that I was like, Jeff Garcia was better yesterday when I forgot about you. Like, you're the worst.
Exactly.
Anyways, I don't know how we got on that.
Right. Well, we talked about Joe Theismann and athletes and just bumbling and this, like,
social media.
We're in social media. We should just, anyway.
Do you ever have this game and it can only be played with very close friends who you trust highly, but do you ever do that thing, and I've done this numerous times, where you'll be like, let's play a game where I think of one sentence, just one, that I could tweet out or put out right now that would end everything. Just one. and it's like, I mean, it's fascinating because it's sort of terrifying that it's just that easy to pick up your phone and you could kill anything that you've ever built. Oh, yeah. Like, it's gone in a sentence. But yeah, it's like this is a very tempting, dangerous, don't drink and text, like, or tweet, don't do any of it. Or text, actually. That's never good either.
Right. Or take Ambien. That was that was Roseanne's excuse, right? She had taken an Ambien and then she got on Twitter and she killed her career.
I mean, Ambien.
She had the number one show in television. She had literally the number one show in television, and she was off the air a week later.
How?
With one tweet.
Yes, with one tweet.
And by the way, rightfully so. Like, it was an awful tweet. But, like, anyway. But back to the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders.
I'm trying. Like, every time you say it, I'm like, okay, process it. But, the jokes of it, like the commies, that's already started.
Right, of course.
It's perfect.
And you're also starting to think about, like, so what is I should have done this before I logged on, but I've done no research for this pod, Beadle. I've done
neither have I.
Whatsoever.
No.
Well,
that's what pods are, isn't it? That's the whole point.
But here's the thing. I feel like that, again, that's on brand for you. Like,
totally.
Like, if you came researched up, I'd be like, wait.
Like, what am I going to research? Commander Washington. Nope, got it. Pictures, a lot of images.
This is what I was actually going to look up, and maybe Paige or somebody can behind the scenes can look this up real quick. But what is a commander? I assume it is a rank in our military. I don't know what level rank it is. I think this is me being stupid, right? I am not a military person. I have tremendous respect for our military. It's one of the reasons why I have so much respect for everyone that has served in our military.
Of course.
Or the families of people that have served in our military, because I'm too cowardly to do so. What is, like, I feel like it's naval. Is it?
There are different. I went Wikipedia. That's also in the police ranks. Army and Marine. It's officially applied to the commanding officer of a unit, but naval is the first. Coast Guard, Public Health Service Corps commander is a senior grade officer rank. I don't know what that means. Commander ranks above lieutenant commander and below captain.
All right, so
not bad.
When we take on any of the lieutenant commander teams, we've got them.
Yeah, by rule.
Right, yeah. When the Pittsburgh lieutenant commanders come to town, we've got them.
It's equivalent to the rank of lieutenant colonel in the other uniformed services, which sounds to me like a big deal.
Yeah, sure. Here we go. We're the fighting lieutenant colonels.
My God, you guys you're gonna wipe up this league. Like,
right.
Commanders.
I mean, like, you can already see, like, right, exactly, like, the next time they lose, well, they didn't follow the commands. I guess,
it's rude.
The Cowboys didn't follow all the commands. They ignored the commands and just scored at will.
I just love it. I love everything about it because it feels on brand. The commies thing already picking up steam feels on brand. Like, the commies, and it's perfect. I love this.
But you know what? Listen, it's my team. It's embedded in me. I've been a fan since I was 5 years old. I would love to get it out of my blood. I can't. I will be a Washington fan, a Commanders fan till the day I die. It is what it is. I don't agree with everything.
I get it.
Listen, I don't agree with everything the franchise has done. On many levels. I will say this. I'm a believer in Jason Wright. I do think Jason Wright, who is their team president, and I'm a believer in Ron Rivera. So I'm a believer in those two men as good men of character who have the priorities straight and listen, it's turning around the Titanic on many levels. So they've got their work cut out for them. But I think, especially given the hand they were dealt, I think they have, done as good a job as possible and will continue to do so. I mean, I think there's a lot of mitigating circumstances there in terms of what they can and can't do. But I'm a big fan of both those gentlemen. I'll say that.
I'm glad they have each other in this fight.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot harder if it was one guy sort of that everyone respects. You know what I mean? Like that's like,
right.
That's an uphill battle and nobody wants to fight it. And look, you're right. Names are stupid till they're not. In 2 weeks, we'll be like, yeah, Commanders. It's always been that. That sounds right.
Whatever.
Like if they rename the Spurs, something, the fart sniffers, the goobers, whatever.
Right.
Of course, I'd still love them. Like it is what it is. It's just a stupid name, and it's more about what they do on the field, I guess. But it's also fun to make fun of because that's what we do. And we are such a bunch of bastards on the internet and everywhere. There is no name they would have dropped today where we would have all been like, perfect.
Yeah.
No, there's not a single word in the English language.
I will say it felt like there was a lot of online support for Red Wolves specifically, but I agree with you. There would always have been somebody that didn't like it. There's no one. There's
a lot of Cold War vibes in all these like red commies. Yeah. Like what's going on here?
By the way, and maybe that's where we go. Maybe we just go full heel turn. I know you're a wrestling fan, Beadle. So maybe Washington is a franchise. We just go full heel turn. That's just right. We are the commies. Yeah. Right, and we just
back, baby.
Right. And we just we just have like our new logo is like a little silhouette of Gorbachev.
Yes.
And we just right.
I love it.
And we just come out and Cold War it and Bolsheviks.
Hey, that was
the whole thing.
That was a great time in entertainment. That's all I know. As the greatest storylines came out of that era. Okay.
I believe James Bond helped us out of the Cold War too. Like maybe there's something there because you mentioned Bond.
Who's gonna? Okay, well that's a whole nother story. That is gonna affect my life.
I understand that. One last thing here, and then we can move on to another topic. I just want to say this to your many fans, Beadle. Obviously, you have many admirers, people trying to get your attention, desperately wanting to. Try to curry favor with you and get your attention. And I'm just going to give a hint to all your listeners out there that would like some sort of acknowledgement from Michelle Beadle. I think if you get a jersey printed up with a San Antonio Farts logo on it and send it to her, I believe she will wear it and post it on the gram.
Of course I would. Farts are and will always be hilarious.
Yes.
I don't care if I'm 97 on my deathbed. If somebody farts in the room, I'm going to laugh and then take my last breath, and it will be the perfect ending. You're welcome.
There you go.
All right. We're taking a quick break. I have a very important question for you when we get back. It is winter, which means both football and basketball are in full swing. And for many of us, there is no better way to enjoy the games than by having some skin in the game. Some of that chicken, as the great Marshawn Lynch would say, which is why BetMGM remains the exclusive betting partner of The Athletic. That's right. And as a fan of The Athletic, you can bet $10 to win $150. You heard that right. $150 plus a free 3-month subscription or extension to your subscription with The Athletic when you bet with BetMGM using our promo code. Just sign up at BetMGM.com and use the promo code TheAthleticPod at checkout to take advantage of this special offer from the king of sportsbooks. That's bet $10 to win $150 plus 3 months free from The Athletic at BetMGM.com and using the promo code TheAthleticPod at checkout. New customer offer. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.
21 years of age or older to wager. Arizona, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Washington, D.C., Nevada, Wyoming, and Virginia, 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan, 1-800-GAMBLER in Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Call or text the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789 in Tennessee or call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana.
Welcome back. We've gotten Matthew Berry's response to the Washington Commanders. Now we can all move on. It is official. You've got a new name for your favorite team of all time. And I just feel like, we haven't had the Super Bowl yet. And I played fantasy football this year after never, ever, ever completing a season in my life.
Did you actually finish because
I finished.
Which is amazing. People don't realize that. How many years would you say, like, I drafted, and be like, in like a week 3, I'd like text you and it'd be like, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, I gave that up. Like, Beadle.
Every single season until like, then I didn't watch for whatever 2-3 years, and so that was like. But every season before that, and it would start out. It's like any other. It's like a sport. Everybody on the first day of the season is like, all right, probably gonna win it. And then I'd realize 3 weeks in, like, I don't care. I'm already out. Like, this is stupid. Yeah. But my team name was Matthew Berry is number 1 because that ticked everybody off in the league, which I loved. And I made it. What bothered me was that I had the same record as people in like the other
division.
Good Lord, my brain. Yeah, division. Same record. And they went on to the playoffs and I didn't. And I chalked that up to sexism because what else could it have been?
Right. Obviously.
And so it's like, all right, well, that sucks. But I will say I finished it. I cared until the end. I even looked at my lineups every week, which for me, that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like, all right, maybe I'll try again. Like I'm back in. But that being said, who do I draft first next season?
Yeah. Jonathan
It's not too early.
No, Jonathan Taylor.
That was easy. Okay, shoot.
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I think it'll be Chris McCaffrey will be there. A lot of the running backs as well. I think there'll be some interest in Cooper Kupp, obviously, and Devontae Adams. Assuming Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are playing on the same team next year. But right now, the consensus number 1 will be Jonathan Taylor.
Wait, do you think that if Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers aren't playing on the same team, that Devontae Adams won't be as valuable?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Devontae Adams is still really good, but just the connection that him and Aaron Rodgers have, if some team pays Devontae Adams $1 zillion or he decides to stay in Green Bay and Rodgers goes somewhere else or for whatever reason, right?
Right.
I mean, if play this out, right? Let's say that Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver, which is rumored, right? And Denver has Cortland Sutton, who they just paid over $40 million to. They have Jerry Jeudy. They have Noah Fant. They have KJ Hamler. Like, they probably don't need Devontae Adams in terms of where they're spending their money. They've already spent a lot of money and resources on a really nice young receiving core.
Right.
And so could you see a scenario where Devontae Adams gets offered more money to go somewhere else or just whatever reason that they're not playing together? And that would be a downgrade for Rodgers. For Adams, even if he goes to a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's not the connection. I mean, Rodgers and Adams just know each other like the back of their hand. Like he can throw
like Tango and Cash.
Exactly like Tango and Cash. When I think of who's got the greatest connection in history, it's, those are the two, right? It's obvious it's Tango and Cash.
And Rodgers and Adams.
I
have no idea. There's a 20-year-old. Like who's good? No one knows you. I'm so sorry. If you're 23 years old, and God forbid you are, because why would you listen to this? Right. Tango and Cash is an amazing cinematic journey that you're going to want to take at some point. Holy cow! Do you get? I feel like you probably get hate.
Do you remember who Tango and Cash are? Because I only remember one of them.
Isn't it Kurt Russell and Stallone? No,
Stallone is definitely one of them. I think you're right on Kurt Russell.
Isn't it?
I believe Sylvester Stallone is Tango.
It's got Tango. First of all, those are 2 amazing names: Tango and Cash.
Tango and
look at
Cash.
That. Yeah, it's Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell, Terry Hatcher, Jack Palance. There's some people in this.
Oh man! And was I right that Stallone was Tango?
He's Lieutenant Raymond. I hate when it cuts off on the page. Yeah. I guess he's Tango. The second question is Sylvester Stallone a billionaire? Like, people, get out of people's pockets. None of your business. Right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess. Oh, yeah. Lieutenant Gabriel Cash is Kurt Russell.
Okay, so there you go. So by the process of elimination, we can feel pretty confident that Sylvester Stallone was, in fact, Tango.
He was Tango.
So I like the fact that, like, hey, we talked about a Stallone movie. Oh, Rocky? No, not the Rocky series. Rambo? No, not the Rambo series either.
Not quite.
No, not quite. We went Tango and Cash.
Okay, you know what? By the way, this is terrifying. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. They were for people that haven't seen it yet. They were cops, but they didn't play by the rules. but they didn't play by the rules. Tango and Cash might have been is one of the ultimate 80s movies of all time.
It's just perfect. Like,
Right.
I will watch every bad, by the way, it made $60 million. What do you think it had Rotten Tomatoes? Just guess.
43%.
Oh, you're a kind man. 30.
Well, all right.
But you know
I
what?
am a kind man.
Those are the best. Those are the best movies. How much hate do you get? Because what you do, doing fantasy, A, the OG, but B, it is so, I mean, it affects people so much. Like, people get angry. It can ruin their entire weekend. I've watched men just, ugh, and I'm like, it doesn't actually matter at the end of the day, right? Like, you're not in this. You're not playing. So you must get hate. Like, God forbid you say something and that guy doesn't perform that week. Is it fun to go through those mentions?
Yeah, it really is. That's the best part of my job. Beadle, you nailed it. That's the best part. The best part. Especially when, by the way, it's my two favorites are ones in which I correctly predicted the thing, but it still didn't work out. Like, for example, like I'll say, I want this running back, and he gets the goal line carry and converts, but then there's like a holding call. And so that, he converted the touchdown. Like, I was right in that the guy would score a touchdown, and this was going to be the running back you wanted to start on this team. But whatever, there's a holding call, penalty comes back, and, they throw to the backup tight end, right? Or he steps out of bounds at the 1 yard line, and you're like, what are you going to do? Or the other one that drives me crazy is when they incorrectly say, something will happen where they'll assign a prediction to me that I didn't actually say.
Oh, that's not right.
They'll be like, oh, you said bench Matthew Stafford, and I'm like, I said no such thing. Like,
why would I say that?
I said I ranked him 7th this week, and you said, well, you said he had a tough matchup, and I'm like, yeah, watch the rest of the video. He has a tough matchup, but you're still starting him because of X, Y, and Z. Or they'll just, and I'll be like, no, actually, that was Field. Field was down on Stafford this week.
Field's the idiot, you guys. What is your problem? Love you, Field.
It's like, I'll make plenty of boneheaded calls. Can you at least assign the ones that I made myself to me? So it's like, I have learned to, it has taken me a long time, and there will still be times where I get upset by people getting upset at me, but it has taken me a long time to have the strength to not look at my mentions, just to tweet and not worry about it, and just to not even. And it's hard to get a tweet to me these days, to be honest with you. I've got so many filters now in terms of muted accounts and high quality, and you have to, anyway, all the
high quality is my favorite,
right? Whatever. And so anyway, so it's that is the part that sucks, is that people don't realize, like, yo, man, I'm looking at the players and the stats and the analysis, and I'm not the one carrying the ball.
Right.
All I can do is say, I think this is what's going to happen, and this is why I think it's going to happen. And if you agree with my thinking, you should make this move. And if you don't agree with my thinking, you should, it's your team.
Yeah, it's your team.
And it's just like, listen, you're trying to predict the future about a game that's played by 22 men at the same time with a leather ball in an oblong shape. Yeah. Weird shit's going to happen. And
with variables galore.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally had NFL coaches, I've had offensive coordinators tell me privately, this guy's going to have a huge game. They've texted me like on a Friday or something like that, saying, this guy, we found something in the defense, we like it, we're going to pound this guy, we think this guy's going to have a huge game. Because I'll say, like, hey, make me sound smart, something like that. Can you give me a hint? And they'll give me one. They'll give me something. And then we will come out, and like, it'll be a wide receiver or something like that. And so I'll go on air, and I'll be like, I'll never reveal my source, but I'll go on air and I'll say, like, I really like this guy because of this reason, and I don't know, just a gut call or something, right? And then that player will go out and like, he'll drop the first pass. He'll get like a holding call on the second one. He'll fumble his third play, and then he's done. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. Or like, I've had coaches say, when there's been running back by committees, and I'll be like, well, and I've asked him, I'm like, do you think it's a this guy or a that guy? We think it's a this guy game. And I'll go on air and I'll say, okay, it's this guy. This week I think I'm, this particular guy. And then the first play from the game, the other guy runs for like a 60-yard touchdown, and they're like, all right, well, that guy's hot. You know what I mean? And like,
and that's it.
And yeah, coaches apologize to me. Sorry, man. Like after that other guy went for the touchdown, he wasn't coming out. And you're like, what are you going to do?
Well,
like,
there's nothing you could do. They had play the hot hand. Like it's, and I feel like people forget A, you're human. B, they're human. Like everything's up for change. You've got referees that can change something. You've got weather that can, there's like 1,000 different things. If it was easy and for sure, we'd all be rich from gambling. All of us. Like Vegas wouldn't exist.
Like I remember one time, and I won't say the reporter because it's not my story to tell, but I was one of our NFL insiders at ESPN. There was a player that was questionable for a 4:00 game. He was questionable if he would play. And so if he didn't play, there was another wide receiver that would have a good game because he was sort of the backup, for lack of a way to describe it.
Right.
And so literally the player texted the NFL insider and said, I ain't going today.
Damn,
he's like, the hammy's too tight. He's like, I'm not going. You know, it was being reported as a game time decision, but he literally texted the NFL insider and said, I'm not playing. To which the NFL insider showed me the phone. And so I went on air and said, listen, I'm not expecting so-and-so to play. My expectation is that this other guy has a huge game. So if you're making a decision between the star player who was the 4:00 game or somebody in the 1:00 game, go with the 1:00 guy. The 4:00 player ends up playing 163 yards and a touchdown, has a monster game.
What?
I'll tell you off air who it is. Like, and it's like, and it was just.
But why would they say they weren't?
And like my guy texted me, he goes, I don't know, man. Like, you know, started to feel better when I got on the field and got rubbed down and got a shot.
Gross.
And like I got out there and then I, decided to give it a go and then, had the big play. And you're just like, so my point of telling you those stories is like,
tricky.
Even coaches, even players don't know.
Right. And so there you go. You can't get mad. You can't. And also stop making your life about it. Chill.
Well, I'm the wrong person to tell that to because I sort of have made my life about it, Beadle.
Yeah, but you're not crazy. Like people get mean and it's a fascinating thing to watch. Like it's partly why I'm sort of like back in just because I watch the other dudes in the league and I'm like, you do know that you're playing for $100, right? Can we all just relax?
Right. Well, and listen, people are, this is a whole nother subject. I don't want to get open to this can of worms, but just in general, I think our country is really angry online about everything. About everything. It's not just, obviously there's a huge political divide, but beyond that, anything, whether it's.
We're just mad.
They're mad. They're healthcare. Like people are arguing about the Commanders right now. Like, you
got a good 24 hours out of that now.
Right. Yeah. Like people will argue about everything. Whoever they pick is the new James Bond.
I was going to say, wait till the Bond comes out. Like, oh my God. It's going to be a nightmare.
Wait till Stallone says we're doing Tango and Cash 2. There's been a ground swelling of support. And people
You're welcome.
Right. And then people will be like, don't touch a classic. What are you doing?
It is. I shouldn't laugh. That was a mocking laugh.
Don't ruin my childhood. How dare you?
It is a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be. Speaking of taking a quick break and we come back, it's the quickest Super Bowl prediction. Another thing that you could possibly get wrong and everyone hate you for. Yay, we'll be back.
Yeah.
All right, this is it. We have the 2 weeks leading in the Super Bowl where it's all about predictions that could or could not happen.
I have a question for you, Beadle. I have a question for you before we get to this thing. So, I probably should have done this in the last segment, but it just occurred to me, was you asking me about the predictions and the whole thing? Could I take 2 minutes and tell you my favorite fantasy football story of all time, which I think speaks to, like when you're trying to predict things. So my current colleague, your former colleague, and our mutual friend, Matt Hasselbeck, plays fantasy football. He plays fantasy football, but what people don't know is that Matt Hasselbeck played fantasy football when he was a quarterback in the NFL.
I love it.
Now, he has told this story himself. I have written about this story before, but it's my favorite fantasy football story of all time. And so in the 2009 season, Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. He was a very good player. And that particular year, Matt Hasselbeck drafted as his fantasy quarterback himself.
Nice.
And his former Green Bay quarterback, his former Green Bay teammate, Brett Favre. Remember, he backed up Brett Favre in Green Bay for a number of years.
Crazy.
In 2009 was the first year that Brett Favre was the quarterback of the Vikings. And if you remember, he had a very good fantasy year, he had a very good statistical year with the Vikings that first year in Minnesota. Okay, week 5 of the NFL season, the Vikings are playing the Rams, who are brutal. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. And the Seahawks are playing the Jaguars. Jags had won 2 straight. Matt Hasselbeck had missed the previous 2 games with a lower back injury.
Okay.
So in week 5 of the NFL season of the 2009 year, Matt Hasselbeck decides to bench himself and start Brett Favre on his fantasy team. Favre's playing the Rams, right? Great matchup. He's not sure. Jags playing 2 straight. How's his back going to hold up? Okay. I will save you and Paige the trouble of looking this up. What happens in this particular game in week 5 of the 2009 season is that Brett Favre throws 1 touchdown pass, 1 interception. Adrian Peterson has a monster game for the Vikings as Minnesota rolls the Rams. Brett Favre finishes as the 18th best quarterback in fantasy that week.
Oh, no.
However, Matt Hasselbeck throws 4 touchdown passes as the Seahawks rock the Jags, 256 yards. Matt Hasselbeck finishes as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy that week, sitting on his own bench.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So you think about Matt Hasselbeck, who knew the game plan, who had watched film all week, who literally touched the ball on every offensive play.
He was the game.
He could audible at any time, Michelle. Matt Hasselbeck, in week 5 of the 2009 season, had as much control over an NFL game as any fantasy player in history, and he still got it wrong.
Wow.
So if Matt Hasselbeck can't get that right, what chance do any of us have?
That is the best story. Like, I love everything about it. That's awesome. That is awesome.
And credit to, I mean, Matt told me that story and owns it and loves it and has, you know.
Oh, it's perfect.
I asked him permission, can I write about this? And he's like, yeah. And, Matt's such a great sport and such a good dude. But it's just like.
It's also such a unique, like, who else can tell that story?
Right.
It's so unique.
Yeah, exactly. And, by the way, really good fantasy player. I think he was the number, the Hasselbacks, which is, that's what they call their team. Matt and Tim have the Massholbecks. That's what they are. They are the
that's perfect.
Even better. The Massholbecks in our War Room League. And I think they finished 2nd or 3rd this year. Like,
I hope that's a lesson to everyone out there.
Yeah,
Chad, you can't control this, okay? Because if Hasselbeck couldn't, and he couldn't tell the future, who can?
No, exactly.
Oh my God. All right, this is it.
All right.
One word, quickest prediction ever. Super Bowl is?
Rams.
Boom. Barry, where can people find you?
Oh, God. On ESPN. Well, listen, if you listen to podcasts, listen to the 06010, the Fantasy, I wore this to represent, the Fantasy Focus 06010 podcast on ESPN. You can follow me on all forms of social media at Matthew Berry TMR, or except for the Fantasy Life app where I'm merely at Matthew Berry. So, yeah, I'm on the TikTok. I'm on the Instagram.
You on the TikTok?
I'm on the TikTok.
Are you dancing?
No, I don't know what to do on TikTok, to be perfectly honest with you. But I have young daughters. They're on TikTok, and so I originally created a TikTok just to keep track of what they're doing on TikTok, and so like whatever. I still am trying to figure out my TikTok.
I don't get
plan. What I wanted to do, but I get weird about this. So my daughters are young. Like I have twin daughters that are young, and so originally I thought like my TikTok account should just be them just doing doing everything that like Addison Rae does, and like just like or whatever, like pick a TikTok star, Charli D'Amelio, like one of them, and like just I don't know.
Just make me money, kids.
Right. Or just have them talk about fantasy football, which they sort of understand, but not really.
I would watch that.
Right.
No, I would watch that.
And just, I'm like, hey, whatever the TikTok trend is, just do that and just, mention Russell Wilson. Like whatever it is. Like, but
look, kids are making millions, so figure it out.
You and I.
That's all I know.
Yeah. You and I were born at the wrong time, Beadle.
100%.
Right. I mean, people are on TikTok and the YouTube and
because
Twitch.
Look, I've already made a career. Like I got paid to just be myself and be a douche and do all that, right? But if I would have known that 10 years later I could do the same douchey things but get many, many more millions, tens of millions, I'd have been like, oh man.
And Beadle, not leave your house. That's the important thing.
Never leave my house. And the more obnoxious I am, the more money I'd be making.
Correct.
Although that does sound like TV today. Well, never mind. Maybe it's actually still going.
Maybe it is. We literally should just be, we should create a TikTok account for you that's just literally watching you at home.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I love that we finally got to talk. It's been way too long.
Way too long.
All my love to Beth and the fam.
Thank you.
I have to say this. I know. I love it. By the way, subscribe, all that stuff. Friday, we got our February TV draft, and our number is 631-397-0403. I'm sure we'll write it on here somewhere. We want voicemails. Gross ones, please. Thank you. See you next time.
You're not asking for gross. Why are you asking for gross ones?
Because I miss the attention.
I guess.
Just kidding. No, I don't. God, no, I don't. Actually, I don't hear the voicemails. That's more a present for everyone behind the scenes.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. What are you going to the Super Bowl?
No, I know. I thought about just going. This is next week's the week to just be out there. Although, can I tell you how I know I'm 90?
Sure.
I thought about it and I thought, it'd be fun to see people. And then I went, but the traffic.
You are.
I can't. The traffic's. It's gonna be good. Where's Radio Row? Do you know?
I don't. I'm not going to do it, so I haven't figured out. I probably should. But I don't want to.
It's just I was telling Jerome's got to go out there, and I was like, it is just always a spectacle. Like, who are you, and why is a D-list celebrity selling me stuff? I don't get it.
Well, no, can I real quickly, and then we'll leave. I know you're trying to wrap this up, but you can leave this in or not. But for me, what sucks about Radio Row is and I've done it before, right? So you're walking around, and one of two things happens: either you get recognized. Like when you're my level, right? You either get recognized or you don't. And usually, and so you're dealing with a lot of, and so for me specifically, so they'll, hey, will you come on the air? And then you're like, okay, great. And so you talk about the game for a second, but then so fantasy. And yeah, it's over. You know what I mean? And they don't know. And so these poor radio hosts, who by the way, are there for 5 hours every day for an entire week. And they're just trying to kill time, right? They're there for a whole time. They're literally just trying to kill time. So, and they're not prepared. They don't know. So you're walking around and they're just grabbing people. So they haven't done any research or prep on you. They just know, that guy, he's the fantasy guy for ESPN. And a lot of times, obviously, what'll happen is the producer knows who I am and is a big fantasy player. But then I'll get on and there'll be some old radio host who's like, so what do you do? So, whatever is,
I love it.
And then they'll be like, what kind of fantasy season did Travis Etienne have? He got injured all year. It's that. It's that bad question. So you're stuck in this awkward. It's imagine being at a cocktail party where you're in this awkward conversation that you're trying to get out of, but it's on air. And so there's that. As bad as those are, so you know what I mean. And it's in fairness to the hosts, if they don't play fantasy and they're not prepped for the interview, they're just they're just trying to grab whoever walks around at Radio Row. The other part of it that's even worse is you walk around and they'll be like, it's so great. Can you come by at 3:20? We'd love to have you at 3:20. And you show up at 3:20 and they're like, hey, Kurt Warner just walked by, so can you come now back at 3:45 or whatever? Just whatever. Yep. You immediately know where on the scale that you rate. Yeah. And I'm already aware that I'm low, and so I don't need to be reminded of
it's hurtful.
I'm not upset. I understand that Super Bowl winning Hall of Famer quarterback Kurt Warner is a bigger name and a bigger celebrity than me. No issue with that. Love Kurt Warner. But you know what I mean? You're just
it's rude.
It's not rude, but it's just I get it from their point of view, which is Kurt, I'm making up a name with Kurt Warner, but I can't tell you how many times I've been there and hey, it's Rob Schneider. You know what I mean? Whatever.
That to me is how I think of Radio Row is that it's like swimsuit models show up. You're like, what? Yeah. What? And then of course you have all these pathetic horny men. They're like, oh, da, da. You're like, just keep it in your pants, boys. And then it's a very, Yeah, it's a shit show, but in a very sort of fun. You should see it once. Like I think it's part of the Super Bowl. Like you should see it once.
It is. You should absolutely see it once, and it definitely serves its purpose. And if you are trying to get your name out there, you can go and sort of hustle and get a lot of like. But at this point in my career, I'm just it sort of is what it is with me.
I just want to take a nap.
I'm at whatever level I'm at that level, and it's fine. And I'm not selling anything, and so I don't know. I don't enjoy it, I should say, and it's not anyone's fault, but it's one of those things where you're just sort of like, you feel dumb. I don't know.
It's humbling.
It's humbling. It's
high school cafeteria all over again.
It is high school cafeteria all over again. That's a great way of putting it, and you just feel, like
what's wrong with me, Mom?
Yeah, exactly, like and like it'll be one of those that's like you'll see somebody will be like oh. And then I'll turn around and like, oh, it's Drew Brees. Never mind. Okay.
But by the way, at least it's Drew Brees. It could be worse. It could be some CW person you don't even know, and you're like, now I've hit the bottom.
No, right, exactly. It's not even. It's literally like, oh, that's Rob Schneider. Who,
I love the Rob Schneider. This is shade.
Because that's actually. Well, and I got no issue with Rob Schneider, but that actually happened one year. Sandler had a movie coming out. And Schneider was in the movie, and Schneider was there. Rob Schneider was there. I don't think Sandler was, but it was like one of the ones with like Schneider and Kevin James and David
like those
Spade
best
and
friend
Chris
ones
Rock
or whatever. Yeah,
right. One of those. They've done a bunch of them all together, and but I just remember. I remember one time I got bumped, not bumped, but I got pushed
no,
back
it's bumped.
for Rob Schneider. Is that bumped?
It's kind of a bump. It's almost like we're bumping either to the end of the show or tomorrow. It's like a bump.
And you're just like, man.
It's like a Matt Damon bump, but that's also cool. So
yeah, Matt Damon, you're fine with. But anyway, but it's right, or it's just right. It's some sort of it's an Instagram model. It's
that's why I think Radio Row these days would be so much, because there's so much more of this quote unquote influencer world that I almost feel like I want to see it, but I know that I will hate it even more. So it's like a weird thing. Like, do a reality show just on Radio Row.
Well, because it's a bunch of people walking around like this.
100. That's life, though, isn't it?
I mean, I suppose.
Don't get me started.
A little bit, but anyway, so that's a long way of saying no. I won't be doing. I am going out to the Super Bowl. Looking forward to connecting with a lot of friends and have some.
Yeah, it's a good city.
Kind of stuff, and
it's a good city to do stuff.
But I lived in LA for a number of years, so like my younger brother lives out there, so I'm gonna get to. I haven't seen him in 2.5 years due to COVID, so I'm gonna get to see my younger brother and my nephews and his wife, and so see family. and friends.
It's a work trip that actually you get to do a lot more. So I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, if I was gonna go, it'd be this one, but I don't know. Couch is comfy.
It is, and you're waiting on your San Antonio Farts jersey.
Thank you, sir. And on that note, oh my God,
love you, Beadle.
I love you too. Be careful. Say hello to everyone for me.